Yeah, hello everyone, and welcome into an episode of Matt Sports Talk. And in this video, of course, I mentioned I have really been struggling with internet issues today, and I think I finally figured it out. Of course, I mentioned in my last video I uploaded earlier this morning that I changed my video settings on my iPhone, so hopefully that ended up being the trick. But in this video, of course, I mentioned last week that, and by the way, Happy New Year. And I mentioned in my last video, or my videos a few days ago, that I would be recording a video today going over the updated RPI numbers in terms of all the Crossroads League schools in terms of a national tournament selection. Of course, the updated ARC and quad records are not going to be released until, I believe, the 19th. Yeah, the 19th, 20th, somewhere in there, 2 weeks today. So, but the RPI numbers are out, and this is one method that the committee looks at in terms of a national tournament selection. And so without further ado, I'm going to try to keep this a little bit more abbreviated than I typically do, just in the event that I still have the same uploading problems that I had before I changed my video settings on my iPhone. I hope that's not the case. But without further ado, let's dive in. And the updated RPI numbers, you have Marion first in the RPI. No surprise here. They're 15-0 on the year, or 14-0 rather. Or at least they should be 15-0. Of course, these reflect all the games from Saturday. At least I'm pretty sure. And then, of course, and then further down the list, you have St. Francis. They are 10th in the RPI. No surprise here. They're 14-1 on the year. Their only loss was to Indiana Wesleyan, who's receiving votes, and the next polls come out next Wednesday morning, so that's really going to be interesting to see how that one looks. And then down from St. Francis, you have Taylor, ranked 14th in the RPI now. They're 13-1. They just suffered their first loss to Marion this past Saturday, 2 days ago. So yeah, these are updated records. 14-0 for Marion, and then you have St. Francis 14-1, Taylor 13-1. So yes, these do reflect all the games from Saturday, and actually reflect all the games that after December 15th through 2 days ago, since that was the last time the RPIs were released, which was December 15th, 2 days or 1 day before a lot of teams played down in Florida over Christmas break. And then down from Taylor, who's 14th in the RPI, I mentioned St. Francis 10th, Marion 1st. You have Spring Arbor ranked 21st in the RPI. Really no surprise here, as they are a team that is on fire this year. They're 12-2, just coming off of a massive upset win against Indiana Wesleyan on Saturday. Their first win in Marion, Indiana since the 2015/16 season. So what a job that John Williams has done rebuilding that team from where they were just 5 years ago. And, of course, his assistant coaches, Terrence Williams and Alex Scott, of course, she does a great job assisting him, and so does Terrence Williams. He does a great job as well assisting John Williams. So big shout out to those three for an amazing job that they've done up in the Wolverine State. So that's where Spring Arbor sits. And then, of course, Huntington 29th in the RPI. This is a team that suffered a big upset loss to Bethel on Saturday, and Huntington now, of course, they should be 10-4. I don't really know why this says 9-4, because these games should reflect they should reflect all of these games from Saturday. Maybe they don't, but at least they should, at least in my personal opinion. But regardless, these are the correct RPI numbers, or at least most recent, going off of the games from Saturday. And then, of course, outside of that, Bethel, Indiana, they're up to 36th in the RPI. Boy, what a shock this is for a lot of people. They are 11-4 now on the year. So yes, these are actually updated records. At least they should be updated records. At least I don't know why some of the teams why they haven't updated the records, because those are indeed the total records, at least reflective of the games through this past Saturday. So Bethel, Indiana, 36th in the RPI, 11-4 now on the year. Boy, this is quite a shock for head coach Scott Polsgrove, his assistant coach Austin Hawkins. They have just been unbelievable this year. I mentioned in my video this morning, they upset number 20 Huntington 2 days ago, this past Saturday. That was their first ranked win against any NAIA top 25 team since 2021 against then Olivet Nazarene, or at least when they played Olivet Nazarene, I should say. that day. So this is a Bethel team that it wouldn't surprise me if they crack the receiving votes category when the polls come out next Wednesday. They were projected 6th in preseason. So, of course, Bethel, they might be a lot better this year than what most people think. However, I do think that they get no more than 7 total conference wins. But, and again, who knows? I mean, anybody can beat anybody, and we've definitely seen that. And then the final Crossroads League team is Indiana Wesleyan. They're 51st in the RPI, and they are 8-7 on the year. And of course, that includes a home forfeit win against East West University back in December. And for the Wildcats, 8-7 this year. They have the high name recognition. They're still 21st in the Massey ratings. Kind of surprising to see that, especially after, of course, they did lose to Spring Arbor 2 days ago on Saturday, and that was the first loss at home against the Cougars out of Michigan since December 1st, 1998. So that is just absolutely crazy that it had been that long. And now for Indiana Wesleyan, of course, this is a team that, I shouldn't say they're out of it in terms of a national tournament, but they have a lot of work to do and really, very little time to do it. They literally have no room for margin of error, at least at this point in the season. But, all you can do is try to get as many wins as you can. Now, of course, they are 12th in strength of schedule, so that does help them having that high strength of schedule number. They're 12th in the strength of schedule. Bethel is 64th in the strength of schedule. And then you look at Huntington, 33rd strength of schedule. Spring Arbor, 83rd in strength of schedule. Taylor, 87th in strength of schedule. St. Francis, 71st in strength of schedule. And Marion, 23rd in strength of schedule. So believe it or not, the Wildcats of Indiana Wesleyan have the best strength of schedule out of everybody else in the Crossroads League. So that is absolutely amazing to see that, being 12th in strength of schedule, the best out of anybody. Now, the higher your strength of schedule number, the harder schedule that you have played over this year compared to everybody else, and that's really no surprise for the Wildcats. 4-4 in non-conference play. 3 of those 4 games were against top 25 opponents. So in terms of a national tournament bid, this is a Wildcat team that is looking really, really good to at least make the national tournament, at the worst, maybe a 15 or a 16 seed, depending on how the rest of the season goes. Now, in terms of hosting in March, this is a team that it definitely has a lot of work to do and a very short time to do it. Now, one thing that is going for them in that category is they more than likely are going to have to run the table the rest of the season in order to host a national tournament game. And really what would help them get those numbers up would be if they can upset Marion both times in the regular season, beat St. Francis the second time, and then beat Taylor, Huntington at home, and then beat Spring Arbor on the road. All of those teams, that is really the Wildcats' best chance in having a chance to host a national tournament game, trying to get their RPI number up roughly in the top 35 to 40 for a chance at between probably a 5 and a 7 seed, at least based on that. Maybe a 5 at the absolute highest, probably more so a 6 or a 7 if they can get their RPI between 35th and 40th. But as it stands now, they're probably more than likely down in that number, roughly 8 to 11 mark in terms of a national tournament seed. So again, believe it or not, as crazy as it might sound, and this is really unfamiliar territory that the Wildcats have faced in Ethan Whaley's tenure in his 9th year coaching them. Believe it or not, despite all of that, the Wildcats still would be in the national tournament and have a really, really good chance at making it as it stands right now, as long as they keep winning games, especially because they have a high Massey rating. They're still 21st in the Massey. Their ARC, they're still 50th, roughly 51st in the RPI. They're actually 51st as of today. So that's only 1 spot lower than last time. So that, of course, reflects the bad loss they had to St. Thomas down in Florida last month, but it also reflects their 11-point win against College of the Ozarks, really strong opponent, and then their comeback game on Saturday that resulted in a 9-point loss, and really it could have easily have been 20 or 25. So that, I think, is something else that has saved the Wildcats in terms of their RPI number, and definitely something that they can use to improve on, especially how they came back against Spring Arbor, though, rallying from that 25-point deficit, but just ran out of time. That also saves them. They have the best strength of schedule number out of everybody else in the conference. The Crossroads League, which is obviously, really, really, that obviously is going in the Wildcats' favor. I mentioned the Massey rating, And then the ARC quad records, those won't be released until the 20th. So again, anything can happen, but that is an updated view of the RPI numbers out of everybody in the Crossroads League. Now, if you did enjoy this video, please either like, comment, or subscribe. Any feedback I greatly appreciate. And for those of you that are already subscribed to my channel, I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much for subscribing. Please continue to do so. Please continue to share my channel with your friends, your family, anybody that you know. My goal is to hit 500 subscribers by February 21st. And I believe as of today, I'm sitting at 161. So let's get that number up to 500 by February 21st. So thank you so much for tuning in this video. And I will be recapping all the games from Wednesday night coming up on Thursday. So make sure that you stay tuned for all of that. Again, thanks so much for watching this video. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless.